Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotar Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mayi Ki Jai Yamuna Mayi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, and welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It is Monday, December 23rd, 2024 in New York, and today we're picking up with Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 8, text number 54, wherein Narada Muni begins to tell Dhruva Maharaj the mantra that he should chant to achieve all perfection. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mantrena nena devasya kuryadravyamayim buddha. Saparyang vividhayar dravyayar deshakala vibhagavit. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the 12-syllable mantra for worshipping Lord Krishna. One should install the physical forms of the Lord, and with the chanting of the mantra, one should offer flowers and fruits and other varieties of foodstuffs exactly according to the rules and regulations prescribed by authorities. But this should be done in consideration of place, time, and attendant conveniences and inconveniences. This is a long purport. I was thinking we could pause in between each paragraph and perhaps hear from Maharaj and hear if there's any discussion before just going all the way through. Purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is known as the Dvadashakshara mantra. This mantra is chanted by Vaishnava devotees, and it begins with pranava or omkara. There is an injunction that those who are not brahmanas cannot pronounce the pranava mantra. But Dhruva Maharaj was born a kshatriya. He at once admitted before Narada Muni that as a kshatriya, he was unable to accept Narada's instruction of renunciation and mental equilibrium, which are the concern of a brahmana. Still, although not a brahmana but a kshatriya, Dhruva was allowed, on the authority of Narada, to pronounce the pranava omkara. This is very significant. Especially in India, the caste brahmanas object greatly when persons from other castes who are not born in brahmana families recite this pranava mantra. But here is tacit proof that if a person accepts the Vaishnava mantra or Vaishnava way of worshipping the deity, he is allowed to chant the pranava mantra. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord personally accepts that anyone, even one of a low species, can be elevated to the highest position and go back home, back to Godhead, simply if he worships properly. Om Jnanati Mirantasya Jnananjana Shulakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One thing I noticed in this first part of the purport is that Prabhupada at the very end says the Lord personally accepts in the Bhagavad Gita that anyone, even one of a low species, can be elevated to the highest position and go back home, back to Godhead. Perhaps this is more of a question than a comment, but hoping that Maharaj may like to comment. I was wondering if perhaps he was referring to here to the Yepi Tepi Yanti Param Gatim, that he gives various classes of persons who are non-Brahmanas, and he says that any one of these can be elevated to the highest position. Maharaj, does that sound reasonable, or is there something else that I'm missing from that statement of
that's the straightforwardly what he's saying. The only thing that's curious there is the use of the word species.
Right.
Striya, Shudra, Vaishya is different species. But I don't think that's much of an issue. It's clear. It means people who are low. Even low-born, Papioni, can go back to Godhead.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments or questions so far before we move on with the purport? Maharaj, is there anything you'd like to say so far, but besides
No,
just...
you're
Okay.
on.
All right. Oh, there's a hand up from Saraswati Mata. Please go ahead, Mata.
Pranams, Param Pujya Maharaj, and all the Vaishnavas. Maharaj, I'm not going to have you go to the different verses, but just for my understanding, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted a verse and it basically translates that whether one is a Brahmana, sannyasi, or a Shudra, regardless of what he is, he can become a guru if he knows the science of Krishna consciousness. But then in the purport, they talked of how these caste brahmanas, of course, they have their own interpretation. And they say that this particular quote, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Ke Nanaya, Ye Krishna Tattva Veta, Se Guru Haye. They claim, the caste Brahmins claim that specific saying means that if someone's a non-Brahman, then they can become a Shiksha Guru, but never a Diksha Guru. But in the ultimate issue, isn't it true that there is no difference between a Shiksha Guru or a Diksha Guru ultimately? It's all absolute. A Guru is a Guru. Am I correct in understanding that? Hare Krishna.
Now, there's several things come to mind. First is, why should the Smarta Brahmins care about this verse? Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who made Haridas Thakur the Namacharya. So it's plain that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't care for your caste Brahmanism. He's ready to engage Ramananda Roy as one of his most intimate companions. He makes Thakur Haridas the Namacharya. He picks up Rupa and Sanatan from the rejected, the rejects from the Brahmin community. So he doesn't really, he's not in line with this casteism. That's the first thing. And then I'm losing my thought there. So remind me again what they say.
They say that verse that Mahaprabhuji quoted.
That pertains to Shiksha Guru, not to Diksha Guru.
Yeah, that a non-Brahmin he can become a Shiksha Guru, but he cannot become a Diksha Guru. But in the ultimate issue, I thought it's all absolute. A Guru is a Guru. You can't really just, make differentiation.
They're equal and identical manifestations of Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had in his line those who were not caste Brahmins. So again, we don't, this is actually Prabhupada called this skin disease. Because I have Brahmin skin, therefore I'm qualified to become a guru, because you don't have, or someone with Brahmin skin, he can become a guru, and someone who doesn't have Brahmin skin. So the Prabhupada said this is skin disease. And he, yes, this is skin disease. They're what is that? that the muchi, the cobbler, can become shuchi, equal to the Brahmin, yadi Krishna bhaje, if he engages in the service of Krishna. And the shuchi becomes muchi, yadi Krishna tyaje, if he gives up the service of Krishna. So Prabhupada said they're muchis, that they're dealers in skin. The cobblers are, they deal with the skins of dead animals for making shoes or what have you. So Prabhupada gave them the credit that they're calling themselves shuchi, but actually they're muchi, because they're identifying with the body, so they're skin dealers, that's all.
Thank you, Maharaj. And if I may just ask, from what I recall, Srila Prabhupada was also saying that household, like there's some sampradayas, they have householders that they're addressed as Goswamis. But I recall somewhere that Srila Prabhupada said that householders, they cannot assume that Goswami title, but we know some caste Brahmins do, householders, they say they're Goswamis. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there's the Goswami title, like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, by spiritual qualification. And then there are Goswami families. In Vrindavan, we find Goswami families. So sometimes Prabhupada would say something to the effect that this Goswami title is for the renounced order, not for families. More often, it seems to me, or at least he sometimes gave a different take on it, that it doesn't make a difference whether you're Goswami by birth or Goswami by training. So we shouldn't make such distinctions, particularly if we're the caste Goswamis. We shouldn't discriminate against those who are Goswami by training and spiritual culture. And then sometimes he also put the proviso that, or the warning, that those who are promoted to the position of Goswami by training shouldn't needlessly criticize those who are coming from the Goswami caste, but everyone should be engaged in the service of Krishna. That's the main thing. If we're to simply call ourselves Goswami by caste and then we don't serve Krishna, then what are we doing? But if we're Goswami by caste and we serve Krishna, then it's very nice. Serve Krishna means, beyond the just official, we have a temple, we show the deity, we collect some money, but advanced devotional service. And the advanced devotees will accept. They'll be happy to see people joining the Krishna consciousness movement from all over the world. And we see that some of our Goswamis from the family line, they're very happy to see the Krishna consciousness movement growing. So, so that's what we're looking for. That not that we criticize, you're a caste Goswami, or that we criticize, you're born in the lower species, but that everyone's engaged in the service of Krishna. That's the spirit of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that everyone can engage in the service of Krishna equally and become fit for going back to Godhead.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. And also, Praveen Krishna Prabhu says, perhaps in response to Saraswati Mata's first part of her question, there are a group who, following the line of Chaitanya, and give this explanation. I'm guessing he means Shiksha and Diksha Guru based on one's caste. Is that what you mean, Prabhu?
Yeah. Another point is that They may have their opinion, but Prabhupada has had his opinion. And Prabhupada spread Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement all over the world, and they haven't done anything very impressive. So we'll take Prabhupada's opinion, even if we take it as a matter of, we have our opinion, you have your opinion. All right, whose opinion will we follow? Let's follow the person who spread Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement all over the world, rather than some person who's not made much of a contribution.
Jai. So, moving on in the purport, the prescribed rules, as stated here by Narada Muni, are that one should accept the mantra through a bona fide spiritual master and hear the mantra in the right ear. Not only should one chant or murmur the mantra, but in front of him he must have the deity or physical form of the Lord. Of course, when the Lord appears, it is no longer a physical form. For example, when an iron rod is made red hot in a fire, it is no longer iron, it is fire. Similarly, when we make a form of the Lord, whether of wood or stone or metal or jewels or paint, or even a form within the mind, it is a bona fide spiritual transcendental form of the Lord. Not only must one receive the mantra from the bona fide spiritual master, like Narada Muni, or his representative in the disciplic succession, but one must chant the mantra. And not only must one chant, but he should also offer whatever foodstuff is available in his part of the world, according to time and convenience. What occurred to me from this part of the purport was that we've heard Prabhupada himself say this. Maharaj, you've said this also in regard to chanting, especially the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that the mantra in itself it suffices for the practitioner. It's not that one must chant in front of the deity or one must chant in front of a printed representation of the Maha Mantra or anything of the sort. One must simply chant and listen to oneself chanting. That's the Lord appearing in the way that he's meant to for the process of bhakti yoga to go on. But here it's specified that not only should one chant or murmur the mantra, but in front of him he must have the deity or physical form of the Lord. I'd be happy to hear, Maharaj, your understanding. What I'm getting from this is that he's expanding on the word dravyamayim, which means here it's just translated in the word for word as what is it? Just physical. Yeah, but it means all sorts of things according to the time, place, and circumstance. In one sense, Prabhupada gave us the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, but he gave us temples, deity worship, making offerings, tulsi puja, arti, all these things that involve all sorts of physical manifestations, representations, and activities to enhance and enable our ability to actually chant Hare Krishna. And that's not so much present in Srila Vishwanath's commentary, but Prabhupada, in his establishing the whole manner of worship of the Lord in the Bhagavat Vidi and Pancharatrika Vidi, all from one person. Therefore, he's expanding on these points and making it very clear to us what is meant by dravya or paraphernalia and dravyamayim, or physical manifestations required.
Yeah, dravya means stuff. So dravyamayim made of stuff like earth or water, earth or paint or mental image. And then, of course, paraphernalia is also dravya, desha, kala, vibhagavan. So the different instructions, from one point of view, we chant the mantra, but then it's a blessing to be in the presence of the physical form of the Lord. It's also a blessing to be at Madhuban. He could have just said to Dhruva, just go wherever you want and chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, but he told him, no, you go to Madhuban. So one doesn't have to go to Madhuban, one can chant in Milwaukee, but it's a blessing to be at Madhuban and get the special mercy of the Lord there. So it's a blessing to be in the temple or in the physical presence of the Lord. But even if one's not in the physical presence of the Lord, the name is totally complete.
There's something from Panchatattva Prabhu in the chat. He says, Guru Maharaj, can we assume from these instructions given to Dhruva Maharaj that he made some form of the deity, perhaps of earth, to worship in the forest?
I think that's later stated explicitly. If I recall, I haven't reread that portion, but as I recall, it's explicitly stated that that's what he did. But, or else I'm thinking of a different section of Bhagavatam, but yeah, now we'll have to come to it and see. But in other cases, I think it was Dhruva Maharaj. That's my recollection. But in any case, this is a practice to make a form of the Lord from earth, especially, in worship. I think it's stated here about Dhruva. We'll see as the narration continues.
Yeah. Is that all right, Panchatattva Prabhu? Did you want to say something else?
Of course it's all right. Krishna, thank you.
I wanted to see if it was all right to perhaps just go back one verse, because we're speaking now about chanting this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We didn't, in the course of our discussion on Friday, look at Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on that particular verse, but I think it's applicable since the same topic is being raised in today's verse and purport. What he says is that he's giving the subtext of Narada speaking to Dhruva. He says, this is his commentary, hear the mantra, I will put it in your right ear, I will teach you. Even if you utter it audibly, prapatam, it has effect. What to speak of half audibly, upangshu, or in the mind, which will have even greater effect. And then he goes on to say, Kecharan means associates of the Lord, which was translated also as the perfect beings flying in the sky. So if it's fair of me to ask, I would be interested to hear from you, Maharaj, if you have anything to say about this, the notion of the mantra having greater effect if it's chanted in the mind alone.
Yeah, there are three kinds of chanting, three kinds of japa. And one is audibly, and then half audibly, upamshu, and then, as mentioned here, just within the mind. And as indicated here, they're progressively greater. The audibly, that's all right, and half audibly, that's better, and within the mind, that's still better. But we have to see, it's like medicine. Strong, stronger, strongest. So good, better, best. But it's not just a matter of what's the best medicine or what's the strongest medicine. It's what's the medicine that's most appropriate for the patient. So Prabhupada was very clear, although we may think Upamshu japa is better, half audible, if not even just within the mind. We said, well, it's right there in the Bhagavatam that this is better. But we have to go with the prescription given by the expert physician, and not just by reading somewhere, well, this is really the best medicine. It doesn't work like that. So Prabhupada was very explicit in many places in saying that we should chant audibly, that we should chant loud enough so that we can hear. It doesn't mean that the japa should be like kirtan, that you can't chant in the same temple room with Krishnadas, because he drowns out anything else going on. But loud enough so that we can hear ourselves chant. That's the point. Because otherwise the mind will wander. If we're perfected and our mind is very steady, then we can chant even in the mind, and the mind will not deviate. The mind will stay focused on the transcendental name of the Lord. What is that? In the 6th chapter. Anyway, that's not actually, that verse doesn't fit. But if we're advanced enough, then yes, we can chant in the mind and stay fixed. But Prabhupada saw that we're not so advanced, that we don't have that background of Vedic culture, that our minds are not undisturbed, that we can make a show of sitting and half audibly or silently chanting the holy name, but it won't be real. It won't be, for us, the audible chanting will be more effective. For someone else, half audibly or even inaudibly. But Prabhupada was explicit that chant loud enough so that you'll hear. And don't make a show of being Haridas Thakur or whoever.
Thank you very much. And Saraswati Mata says, was Dhruva not meditating on the Vasudeva form in his mind or heart, as previous verses described and talked about meditating on different limbs of the Lord?
Yes, this is the instruction. He wasn't just sort of mindlessly chanting. There was the personal conception was fixed in his mind by the mercy of his Guru Maharaj, Narad Muni.
Jai. So we can continue reading here. The method of worship, chanting the mantra and preparing the forms of the Lord, is not stereotyped, nor is it exactly the same everywhere. It is specifically mentioned in this verse that one should take consideration of the time, place, and available conveniences. Our Krishna consciousness movement is going on throughout the entire world, and we also install deities in different centers. Sometimes our Indian friends, puffed up with concocted notions, criticize, this has not been done, that has not been done. But they forget this instruction of Narada Muni to one of the greatest Vaishnavas, Dhruva Maharaj. One has to consider the particular time, country, and conveniences. What is convenient in India may not be convenient in the Western countries. Those who are not actually in the line of acharyas, or who personally have no knowledge of how to act in the role of acharya, unnecessarily criticize the activities of the ISKCON movement in countries outside of India. The fact is that such critics cannot do anything personally to spread Krishna consciousness. If someone does go and preach, taking all risks and allowing all considerations for time and place, it might be that there are changes in the manner of worship, but that is not at all faulty according to Shastra. Srimad Viraraghava Acharya, an acharya in the disciplic succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, has remarked in his commentary that Chandalas, or conditioned souls who are born in lower than Shudra families, can also be initiated according to circumstances. The formalities may be slightly changed here and there to make them Vaishnavas. one appreciation I had is early in this paragraph, he uses the word stereotyped. This method of worship is not stereotyped, which is, wanted to make sure I understood the proper meaning of the word. My dictionary says a widely held but fixed and oversimplified image or idea of a particular type of person or thing. So when Prabhupada uses the word, he's referring, as we see later on in the same paragraph, to spreading Krishna consciousness to all places in the world to accommodate all manner of living entities according to their time, place, and circumstance, their background, their culture, the conveniences, what's available in that part of the world. Maybe basmati rice doesn't grow in upstate New York, but you offer what you can. And we hear that Dhruva Maharaj was offering leaves because that's what was around him at the time. Maharaj, would you care to comment on this large paragraph?
And the kind of paragraph that Prabhupada was almost uniquely entitled to write. We can read the books and say, this has to be done, that has to be done. But Prabhupada was the general in the field, and he saw what had to be done, and he did it. He actually spread Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement and did what he had to do to make it possible. So I may sit on the sidelines and say, oh, Swami Maharaj didn't do this, Swami Maharaj did that. But who cares? What's the value of your commentary? You haven't done anything. All you can do is criticize those who are doing it. So that's not very much of a contribution. So it's Prabhupada's realization that the image that comes to my mind is those japa beads of brightly colored hardware store wood. This is not the standard. The standard is Tulsi, but Prabhupada adjusted. There were no Tulsi beads in New York City at the time. So go to the hardware store, get some beads, and chant the holy name of Krishna. So these are the adjustments made by the acharyas. And someone else said, no, it has to be Tulsi. No, we don't care, Tulsi, not Tulsi. They would ask her. I remember that someone asked one of our devotees, are those Tulsi beads? He said, no, these were chanted up by my Guru Maharaj. And the person, Brajbasi, appreciated, yes, this is right. This is the conclusion.
Maharaj, there's one thing in this also in this paragraph that struck me, and I was hoping you might want to speak on it. He says, those who are not actually in the line of acharyas or who personally have no knowledge of how to act in the role of acharya unnecessarily criticize. And that made me, you addressed this to some degree when you were saying that Prabhupada was like the general in the field, taking all available advantages in order to win the battle against Maya and establish Krishna consciousness everywhere. But this notion of having knowledge of how to act in the role of acharya, he doesn't expand on it here, but I was hoping that you might, because it seems to be very important. Not everyone, it seems, has this knowledge. And what is this knowledge of how to act as acharya?
Acharya Bhakti Samshanad in Adi Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why is Advaita Acharya called Acharya? Acharya Bhakti Samshanad, because he's spreading, teaching devotional service. So this is Acharya. He knows how to preach. He knows how to spread the science of Krishna. Ye Krishna Tattva Veta She Guru. So they have no knowledge of, because even if they'd gone out and done something, Krishna could have given them the knowledge of how to act as Acharya. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. But if you sit in your monastery and don't go out, then why should Krishna give you that instruction how to act as Acharya? You're not going to do anything with it. So no need of giving instruction. The person who's not going swimming doesn't need any instruction on how to swim. The person who's not going near the water, he doesn't need swimming instructions. So they're not going to go out. Krishna doesn't give them that personal instruction. Here's what you need to do. But Prabhupada went out, and he was empowered by Krishna to do whatever needed to be done. Not that he had to be, enlightened by Krishna. Once he got here, he already knew what to do. But Krishna gave all, from every side it was there, from his personal realization, from Krishna's encouragement, everything. So in an extraordinary way, Prabhupada spread Krishna consciousness and showed what an acharya is. Showed what an acharya is. Just like we have Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya. So anyone could have been an acharya. Why weren't the other people like Ramanujacharya? Well, because they didn't do what he did. So he's glorified, Ramanujacharya, great preacher of Krishna Bhakti. So Prabhupada is glorified as Prabhupada, which was a point of contention. Well, because he did it. And he spread Krishna consciousness and you spread criticism. What's the credit? Where does the credit go? So anyway, again, that's sort of a lot of what we read here in Chaitanya Charitamrita is sort of what should we say? Salvos in a battle that's now long since won. Now everybody must acknowledge Prabhupada's accomplishment, or is happy to acknowledge even Prabhupada's accomplishment. It may have been a dispute at some earlier time. Now it can't even raise the case. You can't even get your foot into the court. The case is long ago decided. So, and this is all Prabhupada's credit. He showed how to do it.
Thank you. I'm always happy to hear you speak to this point. So it reinforces something that I've thought, that the prime, you've already said this more eloquently, but the qualification to be acharya is the willingness to take responsibility for spreading Krishna consciousness.
Yes, the willingness and then the blessings of Krishna. And both things are there to be willing. I may be willing to, take the role of acharya, but then I also need to be properly trained, and I need to have the blessings of the Lord and the spiritual master. That's also there, not just my own willingness, just like Kaviraj Goswami. He was willing to write Chaitanya Charitamrita, but he awaited the blessings of the Lord. When the Lord signified, yes, you can do this, then he did it.
Saraswati Mata asks, so Bhajananandis cannot be an acharya as they don't preach?
Generally, acharya means who's preaching, bhakti samshanat. Otherwise, all right, you're an acharya among the Bhajananandis. Yes, they can be accepted. But that's of a different nature. Otherwise, yes, we'll accept. Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was also one of our acharyas.
And Praveen Krishna Prabhu asks, when an acharya changes something, time, place, or circumstance, isn't there a risk of dilution?
not when the Acharya does it, when others do it, and the risk is there. Taking Acharya in that sense as a person who's empowered, a person who's, yes, a person empowered. When he does it, everything will be proper. When a less experienced person does it, or a person who, yes, a less experienced person, then the risk is there. So one needs to be careful.
Hare Krishna. So we have one more chunk of the purport to this verse before we move on. Let's see if we can even finish it. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that his name should be heard in every nook and corner of the world. How is this possible unless one preaches everywhere? The cult of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Bhagavat Dharma, and he especially recommends Krishna Katha, or the cult of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. He recommends that every Indian, considering this task to be para upakar, or welfare activity, take the Lord's message to other residents of the world. Other residents of the world does not refer only to those who are exactly like the Indian Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, or like the caste Brahmanas, who claim to be Brahmanas because they were born in the families of Brahmanas. The principle that only Indians and Hindus should be brought into the Vaishnava cult is a mistaken idea. There should be propaganda to bring everyone to the Vaishnava cult. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant for this purpose. There is no bar to propagating the Krishna consciousness movement, even among people who are born in Chandala, Malecha, or Yavana families. Even in India, this point has been enunciated by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his book Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is Smriti and is the authorized Vedic guide for Vaishnavas in their daily behavior. Sanatana Goswami says that as bell metal can turn to gold when mixed with mercury in a chemical process, so by the bona fide diksha or initiation method, anyone can become a Vaishnava. One should take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession, who is authorized by his predecessor spiritual master. This is called Diksha Vidhan. Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Vyapashritya, one should accept a spiritual master. By this process, the entire world can be converted to Krishna consciousness. Jai. Maharaj, would you care to speak something on this last paragraph of the verse?
This is the expansive view of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and especially of Srila Prabhupada, and Rupa Goswami establishes this in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu with evidence from Shastra. Just as anyone is entitled to take his bath in the month of Magh, anyone can become a Vaishnava under proper guidance. So it's a very, one time, I think Allen Ginsberg said that Swamiji was very conservative. And Prabhupada, I think, took exception to that because he made so many concessions and adjustments and so on. And still he's very conservative. In any case, the Prabhupada, on the authority of Shastra and on the authority of Shastra, did it. He acted on, what's the word? He was standing on firm ground. The Shastra was there, that yes, you can do this. That you can make anyone a Vaishnava from any part of the world. As iron can be turned into gold by an alchemical process. So any person, even the Mlechas, Chandalas, whatever, they can become Vaishnavas. There are other quotas there that even there's some low-born people, sort of uncivilized, but when they're decorated with tilak on their foreheads and beads around their necks, they look better than the ordinary Vaishnavas, like they're coming from Vaikuntha. All of these things they're not just meant to be sort of theoretical footnotes. They're fact. And Prabhupada proved the fact. These people from all countries and all backgrounds took up this Krishna consciousness movement and took up the practice seriously and have spread the message of Krishna, the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. So others may criticize, but here it's been accomplished with the backing of authority.
Thank you, Maharaj. Panchatattva Prabhu provides the verse from Hari Bhakti Vilas 2:12. Yatha kanchanatang yati kangshyang rasa vidhanatah tata diksha vidhanena dvijatvam jayate nrinam. As bell metal, when mixed with mercury, is transformed to gold, a person, even though not golden pure, can be transformed into a brahmana or dvija simply by the initiation process. Thank you, Prabhu. And Priti Purnamadavi Devi has a question. Hare Krishna Maharaj, can there be a risk of deviation if the successors of an acharya follow in the footsteps with regard to making concessions based on time, place, and circumstance?
Not if they follow exactly in the footsteps, but if we think that, well, Prabhupada adjusted, I can also adjust, and then we're not expert, then his expert adjustment will become our inept adjustment, and then things may not be so good. So we need to be, what's the word? Liberal. We need to be to make adjustments to bring people to Krishna consciousness, but at the same time we need to be mindful that we have to do things in such a way that we won't cause deviation. We won't cause, we won't cause deviation. So that's expertise. In Katha Upanishad, it said the path of spiritual realization is like the razor's edge. If we're inattentive, then there'll be blood. So everything has to be done carefully. But that doesn't mean that we should be afraid to act. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Prabhu Krishna Prabhu provides the quote, Prabhupada, Allen Ginsberg told me, Swamiji, you are very conservative. I said that I am the most lenient. I'm not conservative. You are conservative. You cannot give up your bad habits. I am very liberal in accepting everyone. But because you are conservative, you cannot give up your bad habits. Therefore, you deny to come to my camp. I am very liberal. Hare Krishna. Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions based on today's verse, which took us through the whole hour, and it's now time for kirtan? Going once and going twice. All right. Panchatattva Prabhu, would you be kind enough to lead us in kirtan?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privrajakacharya Astotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privrajakacharya Astotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Hari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giridhardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaura Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Panchatattva Prabhu. And thank you everyone for being here, for your participation, questions, comments, listening. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Aveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bo. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Panchatattva Prabhu. Thank you, Manupati.
Gurudev, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kantiya. Right. Hare Krishna.